Hello fellow creature, welcome back to Rooftop Talks. I'm making this video to talk to anyone here who has the question of, is it difficult to go vegan? So this is for people who are thinking about going vegan but haven't taken that step yet because they might be worried that it's difficult to go vegan. So I want to talk about my experience. I've been a vegan for a few years now. It was really exciting actually in the beginning because that first trolley run through the supermarket and you actually see a bunch of these products that you never really looked at before. At least me, I kind of walked past the vegan sections of supermarkets a lot of the time, and now I was like seeing them for the first time and I was actually amazed. I was like, oh my God, there's all these really nice tasty products that I didn't even look at before, and a lot of them are super healthy. It was just great. It really opened up my experience of food. I tried so many different dishes that I had never tried before, and this was all in the first week. So it was kind of like this euphoric rush as a vegan. I did find that I was reading a lot. Everything that I put into my trolley at the supermarket, I would read the back of the label and just see if it had an animal product. And typically here in Europe, the animal products are always in bold, so it's actually pretty easy to just skim through. If you see milk powder, it's really annoying because often you don't really need to have milk powder in a lot of things, but they put them in confectionery items and things like that. But yeah, it wasn't hard. I just read the labels. If I needed to buy a new pair of shoes or something, a jacket, I would also read the labels and see if it had been made with wool or things like that. And yeah, I was pretty surprised at the kind of options that were available to vegans, things that I hadn't seen or thought of before. There are also products that kind of look like animal products a little bit, but they're just trying to capture that familiarity that a new vegan might have. I bought this at a vegan fair and it looks a little bit leathery, but when you go up close to it, you can see that it's not leather. It's like this fake leather, but it has the same material properties as leather. I'll show you my wallet actually. Before this, I had a leather wallet, and now I have, this is leather as well, but it's leaf leather, and it's way cooler than leather. It's lasting me ages. It's still, I've got to put it in front of my face for the autofocus. And you can see the lines of the leaf running down it, and it's got this wonderful natural pattern to it, but it has this leather-like quality to it. But it's clear that it's not leather, it's leaf leather. And I thought that was so cool, and I love this wallet. It's by Jelleaf. Yeah, it costs the same as a leather wallet would cost you. You'll hear from people that it's so expensive to buy vegan products. Here's the thing about vegan products. There is a smaller selection of vegan products as there are non-vegan products, right? And that's because it's a smaller market. There's a smaller number of vegans as opposed to non-vegans. So there's less selection. But if you go into a supermarket and you look at the aisles upon aisles of different things, I don't know if you're like me, but you don't need all of that selection. If I went to a small town and I went to their marketplace, they would have a smaller selection of products to choose from than a gigantic supermarket. But I'd be fine with that. Like, that's never been a big deal to me. I never needed the whole range of different products. There are sociological studies out there that show that people's happiness reaches a rate of diminishing returns when it comes to the number of choices they have, like maybe at a restaurant when reading through a menu. Too many choices. I don't know if you've ever been in a restaurant with loads of different choices. At a certain point, it becomes kind of annoying to have to read through all of the selection. And it's a bit like at the supermarket. If there are more products and more versions of everything, it's not necessarily making your shopping experience or your living experience better at a certain point. And it actually streamlined things for me. Like, I would go into the supermarket and I would know where my vegan products are. The supermarket has everything I need. I'll talk about the price in a moment. But I found that it was streamlining my life, and it was easier and it was faster to do my shopping, and I actually gained time back at a certain point. It was a few weeks of reading the backs of labels. When there would be a new product in the supermarket, of course, and it's a product that I think is vegan, you know, if I see a new product in the supermarket, I'll still read it. But mainly the learning phase was like 3 weeks at the beginning. So you have to kind of learn to be vegan, to live as a vegan. And I like learning. I have no problem learning. It's like acquiring a new skill. I really enjoy learning, actually. And after a while, it was streamlining my life. I also noticed that while there were unhealthy vegan products, and there are unhealthy vegan products that are like treats, you know, because vegans want their treats as well. But I noticed that a lot of vegan products had a higher likelihood of being healthy. I don't find it difficult to be healthy as a vegan. Now, talking about the pricing of certain products, my mind was really distorted coming into this because I had heard from a load of people that vegan products were always super expensive because it's a smaller market and they're more like luxury items. They're assuming that you're richer if you're a vegan. I found that while there are lots of luxury products for vegans to have, like you can have fillet steak as a vegan from a brand like Juicy Marbles and it's delicious. If I looked over at the animal-based steak, often I'd find it was competing on price. If someone were to pay for an animal-based steak, they would also be paying a lot of money because that's a luxury thing. I found that there was just as much of a range of prices. I could live cheaply as a vegan, mid-range as a vegan with the occasional treat product here or there, or I could live a luxury experience. It has it all in Europe. I'm talking about in Europe. So just like with non-vegans, you have unhealthy products, you have healthy products. Same as being vegan. You have healthy vegan products, you have unhealthy vegan products. You have cheap vegan products, you have expensive vegan products. No matter what financial background, I found that I could exist as a vegan very healthily. And some of the cheapest meals in the world that have complete protein profiles, things like lentil dal with rice, that is a complete source of protein. And that's vegan. And that's one of the world's most popular dishes. A lot of the world's most popular dishes are either vegan by default or they are easy to make vegan. Like I would really enjoy spaghetti bolognese. I use rehydrated textured protein. It's very high protein source and it's cheap as well. You just add boiling water to it and then you use it as mincemeat as you would as a non-vegan. It's super easy. That's the other thing. Like I'm not an expert cook or anything, but I found it so easy to veganize all my favorite meals. So for me, I'm an ethical vegan. I did it out of an ethical principle. Veganism is the doctrine that mankind should live without exploiting animals. So that is an ethical mandate for me. I'm not doing it based on my health. And so I'm someone who's very conscious of this stuff. I think about this a lot. The difficulty for me was in the mental game because I find it very distressing to think about what animals go through, what farm animals go through. And becoming a vegan separated me from animal-based products. And so I was able to see the situation that animals, farm animals especially, were in with more clarity, I would say, with less bias. I didn't feel the need to shy away from the subject anymore. And what I came to realize is that the animals have it really bad. So I found that the main challenge to becoming a vegan was actually all up here. It was all mental and social challenges. So some people are gonna have questions for you. When you're at the dinner table or something, they're gonna make a fuss over you. You're gonna have these social situations where like someone brings you a gift for your birthday or something, and you have to be like, look, I'm really grateful that you gave me this hat that has sheep's wool in it, but I have to give it back to you. I can't accept this gift because it goes against my principles. Or like my parents, one of them would say like, oh, can you just pop to the shops and get some cow's milk? And I'd have to say, look, sorry, I can't be involved in you buying the product of an exploited animal. That's just against my principles. So that was the more difficult part than anything physical. If you listen to that, like me standing up for my principles, you come to realize that's a really valuable learning experience. So it kind of depends on how you look at these things. But to me, I really came into my own as a vegan and having to stand up for my principles in such a way where I had to politely navigate these social situations. And sometimes it's difficult, I'm not gonna lie, but these are the kind of things that adults have to do, you know? And by rising to the occasion, it made me a better person. So you have that to look forward to. It's kind of hard for me to say that because I know that it might not seem that way when you're in it, but I became someone who could stand up for what I believe in through choosing to be a vegan, to become a vegan, right? So it's a great self-development process that vegans go through. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about fitness. So before going vegan, I was someone who, since the age of 16, I would go to the gym, lift weights, and do gymnastics. I was prepared going into veganism to lose a little bit of fitness, I guess, because it was an ethical thing for me. But I just decided to keep going to gymnastics, keep playing all my favorite sports, lifting weights and stuff like that. I didn't get any weaker. I didn't gain any fat. I didn't lose any muscle. I literally stayed the same weight. I turned 30 as a vegan, and while I haven't seen any physical problems yet, I am aware that I'm entering that later stage of life. People in this age range, they'll say things like, oh, I tried going vegan and then I started getting health problems. But if they're like 35 years old or 40 years old, there's an alternative explanation for that, which is that they're getting older. Their bodies are not as young as they once were. People can sometimes ascribe going vegan to these problems of the body when the real thing is that they're just getting older. You know, their joints are going to get stiff at a certain point. If they're like 60 years old, they try going vegan, maybe that's the point of age where their joints start getting stiff. It's not fair to necessarily say that that is because they're going vegan. The statistics don't show that. The scientific consensus doesn't show that. The meta studies on health studies, like the China study, don't show any evidence that being vegan is unhealthy in any way. If it's a reasonably well-planned vegan diet, obviously if you starve yourself as a vegan, then yeah, you're gonna have health problems, right? Don't starve yourself. Just eat the same amount or a little bit more if you want, and you'll be fine. And the last thing I want to ask you is, based on my description, where does this rank? Like going vegan, where does this rank on the most difficult adversities of your life? Like, how difficult does this sound out of all of the different challenges you've had to face in your life? For me, now that I've done it, now that I've gone vegan and I have no plans to go back ever, I can confidently say this doesn't come within my top 10 most difficult things I've ever done. Like changing my cooking ingredients, making sure I read the backs of the labels on my clothing to make sure they're not animal products, you know, things like that. Like not going to zoos, like it's easy. It's not even in the conversation of the most difficult things I've done. So yeah, that's my conclusion. And I want you to ask yourself the same, like based on my description, how difficult is that in the grand scheme of things? And you'll be doing a wonderful thing. You'll improve your relationship with the animal kingdom. You'll actually be living in line with your values instead of having this guilt in the back of your mind thinking, oh, I should really not be exploiting animals. I shouldn't be paying other people to exploit animals on my behalf. You'll stop these speciesist attitudes. Just by going vegan, it helps add clarity to your relationship with animals. Anyway, my camera battery is running out of charge, so I'll say goodbye now, and thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more thoughts about veganism and animal rights. See you in the next one.
Y'all ever wonder what it feel like to get run over by a damn old combine? I guess I just had to keep looking for that rush, y'all. Hey, but y'all invited. Ho ho! Lazy, bon ton roulette. Sorry, world. This is how I play.